Okay, just making sure everything's working right. And of course, good morning, guys. It is about 7:17 in the morning. It is Tuesday, the 4th of August, 2020. And I want to welcome you to this edition of Topics on My Mind, an animation edition. That's right, we're going to talk some animation topics, kind of try to answer these questionable topics, if you will, and go from there. Now, I might provide a link later on to some of the things I will talk about, so be on the lookout for that, if you will. But yeah, we're going to talk about a variety of topics today as I link this up at various sites and get myself a little bit of Coke to drink. All right, so in there. So, what are the topics we're going to talk about today? And as we speak, I also have my CAW Creator Wrestling League's Women of Honor special edition episode event happening as we speak. So you can check that out at any time that you want. Maybe double screen the thing and you can check out both at the same time. But anyway, what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's a four topic deal. It's not going to be that long. So the four topics we're going to talk about today are the first one: are animated music videos the way to go during this pandemic and beyond? We'll talk about that. Basically, you might have noticed that some of them have been popping up a lot. Number two, we will talk about Bugs Bunny's 80th birthday, and I'm not talking to Bugs Bunny that shows up in the live stream who uses the name as his uh, YouTube name for his channel, but the Warner Brothers character 80th birthday occurred. We'll talk about that, even my personal history. Number three, we'll talk about why do animated shows have attractive female characters created for them, ranging from characters like Gadget and Rescue Rangers to Cleo from Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats to Rarity and various other characters in Friendship is Magic, My Little Pony. We'll talk about that as best we can because I am going off of because I actually got the idea from somebody that I'm subscribed to called Sketchy the Changeling here on YouTube. Check him out when you get a chance. And also, could a web comic like the Demonica series on DeviantArt or the written adaptation of the character series, which is also on DeviantArt, work as an adult animated series along with others like it? Yes, we will talk about that as well when we get the opportunity. Yes, we will talk about that as well. So, with that said, let's get into our first topic, ladies and gentlemen. And our first topic is: are animated music videos the way to go during this pandemic and beyond? Now, in case you guys probably have not noticed, a lot of artists have had to work around what's going on right now with the whole virus and stuff. So one of the directions that they have been going, apparently, from what I've seen, ranging from Phoebe Ryan to Katy Perry to a few others as of late, is they're going the animation route. And sometimes it's either full on animation, whether whether it's stop motion animation, whether it's claymation, pixelization, you name it. they've been going down this route, and I when I look at this, I have to give them a lot of credit for, going with this, going in this direction because right now they, right now because of what's going on, depending on where they're at, if you will, they are very limited in what they can do. They can't, they can't really, you know, and my friend who goes under the same name of Bugs just reminded me the 80s was last week, but I never got a chance to talk about it, and I will. So, okay, we'll get to that. Anyway, excuse me there. But anyway, like I said, a lot of artists have had to work around the situation of, how are they going to get music videos out? Because even though music videos are not as prominent as they used to be back in the early to mid 2000s, throughout the 90s, and most definitely throughout the 80s. Excuse me there. I don't know what that was about. But like I said, even though music videos are not as prominent, as they were back in the early to mid 2000s, throughout the 90s, and mostly, most definitely, I should say, throughout the 80s, they're still around, and they mostly premiere during they mostly debut on online most of the time. I mean, I'm sure MTV and VH1, if VH1 is still around, I'm sure they'll showcase the new music video here and there. And I know Cartoon Network with its Adult Swim block late at night, especially way late at night, will dedicate at least 5-10 minutes to new music videos, mostly the more trippy animation ones from indie bands or maybe well established artists that don't get talked about as much. Yeah, but like I said, you know, right now I have to give a lot of the artists credit for for how they're able to kind of cope with this situation. I mean, some of them are probably lucky enough to go out and film on location wherever it may be. They're able to film, um, the music videos. They're able to, get the video out the way they want or the way they plan for it. But right now, though, there's a lot of artists. Well, maybe a lot. I'm not saying there is, but there's a fair share of artists out there that can't, they can't do that. They can't go out and you know, create the music video as they originally intended. So they got to work around that. And I've noticed the likes of Phoebe Ryan, Katy Perry, like I said, amongst others, working around that. And it's not just female artists, there's male artists, there's bands and all that. They're working around this situation as we speak, just to try to distribute a music video of any kind, whether it's an animated lyric video or it's an animated music video, which is which they'll dub the official animated music video, but then maybe put out a message saying that the live action music video, the one they intended, will come when things start to settle down. So it's a whole bunch of it's basically a whole bunch of circumstances that have to be worked around. And honestly, like I said, I got to give them credit for at least doing it. And what this also does, though, is it kind of, I think, even though this is being done during a pandemic and it's leaving a lot of musical artists, bands, and all that with no other, alternative, coin of fate, to kind of say, if you will, no other alternative. It is opening the door. It is opening the door possibly for animated music videos to be at the forefront even after we get out of this pandemic. I mean, when you listen, I mean, depending on what artist or band you listen to, sometimes the lyrics in a song, you know, visually sound like they could be, something that could be seen in an animated music video. Like, I always reference Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer, and I'm always saying that I think, and I stick by this even now. I stick by the fact that I believe a female artist who's up and coming, independent, established, uh, could really take on their own version of Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer, not just a song, but their own music video interpretation of it with their song, maybe, and really hit it out of the park, and people would love it. The scenes being remade, reenacted, reshot, even with today's technology, CGI, all that occurring. I still stick by the fact that a female artist could pull it off. Whether they're remaking the song and they want to do a music video that's identical to it as a tribute, or they're doing a music video that's a tribute, but it's with their own song. We've seen that already with one band several years back. But the point I'm getting at basically is when you listen to a lyric out of a song from a band or from an artist of any kind, sometimes that lyric describes something that maybe from a visual animation perspective can be um, showcased better than live action because, yeah, you could place it into live action, but you have to do the CGI route. You have to go the computer generation route. And not saying that won't be bad and not saying that won't be more cheaper to do at times, but going full animated sometimes for certain sequences and stuff, yeah, I think it works. I think it would work better. Whether it's, like I say, 2D, whether it's stop motion, claymation, pixelation. I think an animated music video, especially depending on a certain song that has contains certain lyrics, um, could be the best direction for them to go, or could be the best direction to go in the future, even after this pandemic. I'm not saying they don't have to stick to their animated, not animated, but the live action videos and all that, where they're either just walking around in the darkness of a street on the street in the dark and all that. I'm not saying they don't have to stop doing that. They're still doing that now. Because basically they got to work around the situation of what's happening, so they have to basically, um, you know, find a time of day or time of night to film the scenes for the video. I'm not saying they should just shrug that off or get rid of it. Like I said, they're still doing it now. They're working their way around it. But as I mentioned, I've noticed that a lot more animated music videos from established artists, up and coming artists, independent artists, bands, established bands, up and coming bands, independent, whatever. I've been seeing a lot of animated music videos just popping up a lot more, and sometimes then being dubbed as the official music video. And like I said earlier, some are being dubbed as the official animated version with a live action one to come out later. Maybe when a concert is finally allowed to happen again, you could have basically somebody, say, hey, film this. Basically, you have it. Basically, you can have what I'm trying to say. Excuse me here for a second. But basically, what I'm saying is you could basically have um, somebody, you know, film a portion of the concert, and the concert um, is basically, how do I put this? The concert is, just that song, like the portion of the concert they film is just that one song. Thus, it results in them having a live action music video of that song. So, anyway, though, like I said, but anyway, getting back on topic, because I know I sound like I'm rambling. I do apologize. It is early, but like I said, it's one of the but right now when one of those situations. What I'm saying, yeah, CO2 already. Just looking at some. Hold on for that. But like I said, we're in one of those, um, situations right now that, a lot of artists, like, as I mentioned, Katy Perry, she did, what was it? What was it, Leaves or something? I don't know what the music video was, but she did an animated music video. Phoebe Ryan did an animated music video. And there have been countless others that have done music videos, whether it's CGI, claymation, a hybrid of the two, whatever. They've done music videos, and again, it's a result of what's going on. Now, I know some people might say, well, maybe they had it planned to do an animated music video, and that might be true because even before this pandemic, I've noticed that a lot of artists, some up and coming ones, established, independent, have gone that route because I think they feel that there's more creative freedom. Like you could be more expressive and creative through animation than you can live action. And that's why I think they went that route. And that's why I think a lot of artists that, like the ones I've mentioned, are going down this route as well. Because they can be more expressive. They can be more creative. They can let loose a little bit. They don't have to worry about limitations. I mean, again, you go back to look at Sledgehammer, for example. It's going to, my God, what is it going to be, 35 years next year for it? That's unbelievable. But Sledgehammer, excuse me, I can talk here. Sledgehammer basically was very innovative when it came out. I mean, the fact that you had this guy saying basically living up to what one lyric in the song said. One lyric in the song was, "I'll be anything you need," and then literally throughout the later portion of the middle and later portion of well, basically mostly the middle portion of it, you see him literally becoming anything. You see him. I mean, see, like, the first thing you see is a bunch of fruit just surround him, and all of a sudden it engulfs his face, and next thing you know, it transforms him into a fruit base that splits apart and then comes back together, and it goes side to side. And I know that the reason they did it that way was to kind of show the illusion of, see, he turned into a fruit base. I get that. Um, but then you have the claymation, which was done by the people that did Wallace and Gromit, and the fact that, you know in the claymation thing, you have his hands turned into sledgehammers and beating himself on both sides of the face, and all of a sudden his face, you know, comes apart because a little man comes out of it, or some little person, and then you see his lips on the wall, and then the lips are replaced by a yin yang thing that becomes his face, and then the water goes up backwards to the water fountain, and there's his face, and then his human face, and then all of a sudden it just becomes a mosaic wall, all that, it's stuff like that. Just that creativity, you know, is what really mesmerized a lot of people, and not just the beat, not just the smoothness and the catchiness of the song, but it was the creativity that he went through to make that happen, and all because he wanted to visually visually live up to that one lyric he sang, where at the beginning of the song, when he says, "I'll be anything you need." Because literally, like I said, in the middle portion of it, he became that. That's what happened. And heck, nowadays I've noticed here on YouTube, a lot of people, because I guess of the pandemic, and I don't know because of my word of mouth or what, but a lot of people are checking out the video. A lot of people are doing reactions to it. They're like, okay, what's the big deal about the sledgehammer deal? And they're reacting to it. They're watching it. They're like, whoa, what's this? And I think the reason they're doing that is because they want to see how creative a music video, especially an animated one, claymation and stop motion back in the 80s could be, and maybe probably get an idea of, hey, maybe this is something that could be done today. Because like I said, you take a look at a lot of the artists out there, a lot of the bands out there, and it's like, yeah, those songs lend themselves to something like this, could lend themselves to a music video like this, where some of the, because basically when you listen, I've heard some of the songs even while I'm working. I've heard some of the songs, and like, some of these songs are basically having the artist saying they can be this, they could be that. And it's like, well, if you have the music video visually, creatively, you could do that. So, anyway, But anyway, getting back on the topic here, um, when I look at what's going on with this pandemic and everything, obviously right now, it seems that animated music videos, especially for any kind of artist, is the way to go. It is definitely the way to go for them. And will it be the way to go for them and other artists even beyond this pandemic once we get out of it or once we kind of get in a more stabilized position? Probably. It probably will be the direction they go because, like I said, I think they're going to realize, if not notice, not just from themselves, but from other artists, that, hey, we have a little bit of freedom here. We can be more expressive. We can let loose. We can be more creative. I mean, why do you think Borjak, I think that's her name, Bork, Borak, why do you think she is creative? Why do you think she goes the animated route in most of her videos at times? Why do you think why do you think FKA Twigs? Why do you think Ladai 6? Why do you think they go these routes? Because they know through animation of any kind, they can be more expressive and more creative. Why do you think Hells went through it with the song "Get Along with You," especially at the end, if not throughout the duration of the video at times? Because you can be more creative, more expressive. You can do things in animation with its 2D, CGI, claymation, pixelation, stop motion that you can't do in live action. You can't do it in live action. And I think Beckett, not Beckett, what was I saying? And I think basically, that's why they choose to go that direction. I don't know what that, I was just about to say that was weird. But basically, that's why they go in that direction. They choose to go there. So to me, honestly, I think when when I look at someone like Katy Perry, who I've always viewed as somebody that's been a creative artist, no matter what video she does, I've always viewed her as somebody that can definitely utilize animation, as a forefront, as a means to get a music video out based on one of her songs. And she's done that, so far this year. Yeah, she has a Smile song come out right now, and that looks like it's kind of more live action, but kind of a combination of the flashy stop motion animation. But still, she had one. I think it was, like I said, I think it was the Leafs one. I know I gotta look at it, where basically she was able to use animation to tell her story in her song. So anyway, to bring this topic to a close, do I think animation music videos are the way to go during this pandemic and beyond it? Absolutely. I think if you're an artist and you're unsure of exactly the the, the safety, if you're unsure of the safety of the situation or the area you may have to film the live action portion of the video, if you're unsure, then to me, the best route, at least to have as a backup, is to go the animation route, to basically go with the alternative of animation. Because, like I said, because as I said, there's going to be a lot of people, not just artists, but a lot of people that even when we get into a more stabilized situation here, they're going to be like, yeah, we're not too sure yet. We're not going to take any chances. Answers. We'll go a different route to distribute a music video, and the alternative route may be animation. So yeah, I definitely think animated music videos for artists and bands, established, independent, up and coming, during this pandemic are indeed the way to go. And I think they're also the way to go even after this, because as I said, there's going to be a lot of people in the music business that are going to be unsure of their safety. They don't want to get sick, even if we're in a stabilized position. So they may decide to go the route of animation. And I think that's going to be and I think that's going to be the obvious direction. In fact, I think it's going to be a driving force for the next few years, because even after we get stabilized, after we get a vaccine, after the election, depending on whether or not you believe that's the reason things are spiking up the way they are. After everything is said and done, I think going the direction and utilizing animation for official music videos is going to be is going to become a driving force for a lot of artists, established, up and coming, independent. Same with bands, established, up and coming, independent. It's going to be the driving force for them to release official music videos because to them, they're going to hear and see how creative and how much more freedom and creative they can be with these music videos when it comes to live action ones. So that's all I'm going to say on that one, on that topic. And our next topic, and I know my friend here online that shares the same name as his YouTube name as this character. Our second topic, Bugs Bunny's 80th birthday. Now, last week, I didn't get a chance to talk about it because, of course, I was working and other things came up. But last week was Bugs Bunny's 80th birthday. And I can tell you this as a fan, growing up with Bugs, I always enjoyed the cartoons. I think, I think particularly, I've always enjoyed the cartoons where he's had interaction with Elmer, Daffy, um, Yosemite Sam. I've always enjoyed those kind of cartoons. One of my personal favorites is is basically the ones where one of my personal favorites. I'll put it this way with Bugs is when they do the future short. When they do I think it's the 1940s. It's when they do the future short, and basically you see him and Elmer as basically on the last legs. They're old and everything, and but it shows that no matter how old Bugs gets, he could still get one over on Elmer. Like Elmer basically gets this Buck Rogers like gun or laser gun, shoots Bugs right in the back, and Bugs just gets hit by it. I guess you could say liquefies, melts, if you will, back into down to the ground into basically into his body, and it makes it look like Elmer finally got it, and he's going through all the motions like it's like he's getting his grave ready for himself and all that. But then he just turns it around on Elmer, basically doing the classic Bugs without Elmer realizing it. And then when Elmer is basically the one that gets put into the grave besides Bugs, Bugs like, so long, Basubia, and just buries the dirt on him, and then Elmer's like sitting all buried in the dirt, sitting in the ground, going like, well, at least I'm rid of that rabbit once and for all. He's out of my life forever and ever. And then suddenly you see Bugs pop up right next to him saying, oh, I wouldn't say that. And then place a bomb right next to him. And next thing you know, when it fades to black, you hear this big old explosion. So I love that. That was one of my personal favorites because, again, it shows character wise that even as they get old or as he gets old, Bugs is always going to have a one up on his adversaries no matter what. So so yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed that. I really did. Um, the other ones, of course, was with Daffy. I mean, you can't get any better than some of the Daffy shorts. Mostly when they do involve Elmer, like Duck Rabbit Duck, Rabbit Season, stuff like that. And it was mostly like later on when you got into like some of the later episodes, some of the later cartoons that the joke, the gag of Daffy always having his beak blown off by Elmer, because Bugs would always double talk him into admitting it's duck season and not rabbit season, really always got me always got me laughing. But then what really surprised me though was I think as a kid watching him interact with Wile E. Coyote, it's like I thought Wile E. Coyote was Roadrunner, but as you look later on, you find out that Wile E. got introduced in Bugs Bunny cartoons where he talked at first, and then he just became more of a mute later on with an occasional speaking portion or part during the Roadrunner cartoons. And then I kind of like how they kind of paid homage, paid tribute to where he started by having Bugs in one Roadrunner episode stand in for the Roadrunner because apparently storyline wise, Roadrunner broke his leg. So, and I like how they have Bugs kind of explain, yeah, yeah, I have to take these pills, these little vitamins, speed vitamins, to kind of run at the pace that the Roadrunner does. So, so yeah, I was always, I always enjoyed. So I was kind of surprised to see that I was genuinely surprised when I first saw that as a kid. I was like, whoa, he's substituting for Roadrunner. What's going on here? But of course, one of the things I've always remember watching when it comes to Bugs was the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. The Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, which went on for years and years and years, even after ABC went through all these different transitions doing it Saturday mornings. It stayed put. It was like one of the constant things that was on ABC. Like I think ABC and Warner Brothers had a deal. Like you got to air this as long as you can until something comes up. And they did. They aired it for a long time. Even after Disney started the acquisition of ABC, they still kept it on there. I mean, some of my fondest memories was, you know, not just in the 80s, but in the mid to late 90s and early to mid 90s as well, where I would tune into ABC to watch Wild West Cowboys and Moo Mesa, Sonic Sat AM, and then, of course, later on, Bugs Bunny and Tweety. It was always one of those routines because in the middle, of course, I would switch over to Fox, watch X-Men. I would watch switch over to CBS, watch Ninja Turtles, stuff like that. But constantly, always around 10 a.m. Pacific, had to watch Bugs Bunny and Tweety, or 10 a.m. Central, Bugs Bunny and Tweety. Had to watch it. It was a tradition in a sense for me ever since I was a kid. And I don't know when they transitioned to Bugs Bunny and Tweety back in the 80s because I do remember a few times when it was on ABC. Well, it was on CBS, then went to ABC. It was Bugs Bunny and Daffy or something like that. So, but yeah, I've always enjoyed watching Bugs cartoons, and if it wasn't, and here's what's interesting about it: Bugs Bunny wasn't even originally the main megastar of Warner Brothers, of Merry Melodies, of the Looney Tunes. It was Porky Pig. Bugs basically followed the same kind of path that Mickey followed when he took over as the mascot for Disney over Oswald, and even before Oswald, Alice. So he kind of followed in that category. The same with Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear was never intended to be the mascot, to be the face, if you will. They're Mickey Mouse, if you will. They're Bugs Bunny of the studio. Huckleberry Hound was, and Yogi Bear just shot up and surpassed that and became the studio's big megastar, became their Mickey Mouse, became their Bugs. So yeah, Bugs falls under that category, believe it or not, of someone who was not originally meant to be the studio's megastar, their mascot, and yet here you go. And that's the thing about Bugs as well. You can credit Porky for Bugs coming into existence because we got short because they wanted to expand the Looney Tunes Merry Melodies library of characters and shorts that they created Bugs out of it. Um, to me, it's really the fact that when Bugs came into his own, it was it opened the door to allow them to bring in other characters with more wider personalities. Because I think that's what set Bugs apart was the range of personalities that he had, the fact that he was so different from what Porky was. It was like, you know, it's like Warner Brothers had no other choice but to make this guy the star. And again, in my opinion, from there we had characters like Foghorn Leghorn, Sylvester, Tweety, Pepe Le Pew, Penelope Cat. Um, who else? Um, who else am I thinking of? Sam the sheepdog. Stuff like characters like that. You had them ranging from. It was, in my opinion, because of the creation of Bugs, and then developing him into the character that we would know and love. Basically allowed the door to be open for those characters that I just mentioned to come on in and be given the opportunity to be let loose and be more expressive than what we had ever seen in any cartoons before. So, yeah. Oh yeah, Bosco too. I forgot about that because basically Bosco. Okay, correction there. Thank you, my friend, for the correction. The guy that uses the bug's name. Um, but here's the thing. So, like I said, Porky was originally one, I should say, one of the mascots that was going to be the main megastar of Warner Brothers. Um, but he got eclipsed by Bugs, that, as I mentioned. But even though Bugs fell under the category, like I said, of Yogi eclipsing Huckleberry and Mickey eclipsing Alice and Oswald, also Porky eclipsed Bosco. And here's what's interesting: if you watch Tiny Toons, the episode Fields of Honey, there's a scene in there where Babs is looking up history about certain female characters from Warner Brothers past, and when she comes across Honey, and then she goes to get more information about her, she finds out that basically Bosco and Honey were eclipsed by Porky. That Bosco and Honey was supposed to be Warner Brothers' answer to I think to Mickey Mouse, and the same with the character that came before Bosco, around the same time Bosco did, and that was Buddy. But long story short, like I said, Bugs follows kind of in that footsteps that Porky did. Porky eclipsed Bosco, Buddy, whatever. Like Porky eclipsed Bosco, Bosco eclipsed Buddy, and Bugs eclipsed Porky. So it's kind of like a domino effect. But yeah, like I said, if it wasn't, I think for the creators allowing Bugs like Tex Avery and Frizz Feely and Chuck Jones and all that, allowing Bugs to have all these expressionary personalities and all that and diversities, it wouldn't have opened the door for, like I said, the characters that I mentioned, like Foghorn, Peppy, Sylvester, Wiley, Sam the Sheep, Penelope, you name it. It wouldn't have opened the door for them, and I'm glad it did. And Bugs still keep. And here's the thing, you know, no matter what the year, no matter what the decade, or even the century, characters like Bugs and the rest of the Looney Tunes, they just keep evolving. I mean, you take a look at Lola Bunny when she came on board. People thought, oh, she's just there to be the sex symbol, right? The love interest. But look, you can definitely tell that they realized, look, we can't. Well, they definitely realized that, well, let's say, with Looney Tunes back in action, the director through that was throwing shade at Space Jam for saying, yeah, that Lola character was not a Looney Tune character. If she was loony, she would be like the Looney Tune characters. And we only got a bit of looniness at the end. So they were throwing shade at him, and I think what happened is that still resonated years later to the point that when they made the Looney Tunes show, the creators were like, you know what? If we're gonna bring Lola in, we're gonna make her a complete 180, 360, whatever of what she was in Space Jam. You had Kristen Wiig as the voice. There you go. And then, of course, later on with her appearance in the new Looney Tunes show, voiced once again by Cass Sushi, um, it's kind of like what you would want out of Lola, what you would expect. And perhaps that's the Lola we're going to get in Space Jam 2, A New Legacy. So, yeah, 80 years, it's hard to believe. 80 years. 1930, wasn't it? Yeah, 1930. Wait a minute, 1940. Yeah, 1940. It's hard to believe. That yeah, age-wise, he's 12 years younger than Mickey. But he's become synonymous with Mickey. So, being on the iconic stage. I mean, heck, you take a look at a lot of the movies that came out in the late 70s, early to mid 80s. Looney Looney Bugs Bunny movie, Looney Looney Bugs Bunny movie, Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie, 1001 Rabbit Tales, stuff like that. You had him involved in Quackbusters. You had him involved in Fantastic Island. So, so yeah, it's hard to believe it's been 80 years, and again, it's a character I grew up on, everybody else grew up on, and many more generations will grow up on, no matter what. And you know, I just say I look forward to another 80 years. I may not be around for those 80 years, but I'll be around for when he hits 100. So that's something, unless the Lord comes before that. Um, but yeah, congratulations to Warner Brothers. Congratulations to the Bugs Bunny character for 80 years in existence. Hard to believe. And here's to 20 more. Here's to your upcoming 120 years. And if the Lord don't come before then, and here's to 80 more for those that'll be around even after I'm gone. So, um, congratulations. So now on to our next topic. On to our next topic here. Our next topic, I got inspiration to doing this by watching a video earlier today, or even earlier this morning. Kind of watching a few glimpses of it, and it was also a video I watched last night before I went to bed. It was by Sketchy the Changeling, who's a fan in the Brony in the Brony slash Pegasister community. He's a fan in the Brony slash Pegasister community, and Sketchy did an overview of season 9. He always does an overview. A lot of the Bronies and Pegasisters do these overviews, and Sketchy did an overview of season 9, and the one thing he mentioned at the end, and during one of his discussions of, well, when he talked about one of the episodes in season 9, which was Going to Seed, which was an Applejack Apple Bloom episode, or Apple Family episode, period. He mentioned at the end that the only thing that saved the episode was the flashback that involved Pear Butter, and that Pear Butter, Buttercup, which is Applejack's mom, is fine as you know what, you know. So that got me thinking, is there something going on here that we don't know? So I watched another one of his videos, and he was getting ready to talk about Windy Whistles, which is Rainbow Dash's mom, and he would bring up all the attractive waifus, or as fans call characters that are very attractive, female characters that are very attractive in the show. He brought up a list of some of the waifus, the moms, and he would always constantly just end each one with Twilight Velvet, Twilight Velvet, Twilight Velvet. It's like, okay, obviously he has a thing for Twilight Velvet. So again, it got me to think about this topic, this questionable topic, and that is, why do animated shows have attractive female characters created for them, ranging from Gadget in Disney's Rescue Rangers to My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic's Rarity, and other MLP female characters, as well as characters like Chitara um, in Thundercats, Cleo in the Cadillac Cats, Rebecca from Tailspin, Peg from Goof Troop, Fondier from Bonkers, Callie Briggs and Felicia Farrell from SWAT Cats, and the list could go on. The question is obviously, why do animated shows have attractive female characters in them or created for them? And I think the answer is real simple. Depending on the role of the character, how important they are or prominent they are. I think the reason animated shows have attractive female characters created for them is exactly what I've said before, and I've talked about this in a video before. It's called eye candy. They are meant to be eye candy. Here's the thing. It's kind of like with attractive male characters in the show. If the creators decide, hey, I want to create this character and make them look attractive to the female eye, then they're going to. I'll bring up a collaboration video that Silver Quill and Eliora did for, I think, what was it, Brotherhood's Social. And basically, in that episode, well, basically in that review, Eliora considered Big Mac as a husbando. Husbando and waifu basically standing for the same thing. Like, basically fans looking at characters as being significant others because they're attracted to them. The same could be said for when someone's attracted to a male or female anime or manga character. But anyway, getting back onto the topic, you know, to me, this is why a lot of animated shows have attractive female characters created for them. As I said, it's for eye candy. It's to grab your attention. They know that if they create a character, whether they're human or anthropomorphic or whatever, it's going to get the attention of the male viewer, whether or not it's a grown person like me or a preteen or adolescent, it's going to grab their attention. And the same with the female viewers. And that's why they're created. That's why they're giving the facial expressions and the quirkiness and the personalities that they have, and sometimes the figures they're given. It's because it's all meant to be eye candy, nothing more. It's to grab your attention. I mean, here's the thing: when you take a look at SWAT cats and characters of Callie Briggs and Felina Farrell, you look at them and you're like, damn, hello. I mean, even Bennett the Sage, who does Anime Abandon, when he talked about SWAT cats in the review, even he was like, when he saw Callie Briggs, he was like, hello. And that might have been part of his character and part of the review and all that, but still, no matter how you look at it, it's like, damn, can you blame him? Can you blame Bennett for feeling like that? Can you blame someone like Rob the Wonderful, from the Cartoon Clip Show for feeling like that? Heck, let's take a look at that anthropomorphic Noah's Ark that Disney helped distribute internationally. You had the character, I think her name was Panthera or something. Even Bobjo was like, when he first saw her appear on screen, he was like, he just put something aside and he was like, oh, hello yourself. Again, it's all about the eye candy. It's all about getting your attention. And like I said, the same could be applied when a male character comes on screen. If a male character comes on screen, and they're looked at as being attractive, it's to get the female eye's attention. Like if you go back and you watch Sailor Moon, the prominent male character there is Tuxedo Mask. You can't tell me that he wasn't created the way he was in and out of mask, or when he, in and out of costume. He wasn't created to be eye candy for the female viewers. He was. He was created to be eye candy. And, the same could be said for any female character created in other shows. I mean, heck, G.I. Joe. You had Scarlet in the original G.I. Joe G1. Scarlet. You have the Baroness. You have Lady J. You have CoverGirl. You can't tell me that the people that created G.I. Joe, the animated series back in the early to mid 80s, you can't tell me they didn't know what they were doing to get a boy's attention. And maybe even get some few female viewers onto the show. But you can't tell me they didn't know what they were doing when they added those characters. They did. They created eye candy to get the boys' attention on the show, as well as maybe even attract the female young fan base to watch it as well, because they'd be curious as to why does my brother or why does my cousin find the show so fascinating, or something like that. And they might tease them about, oh, it's because you have a crush on this character. Okay, fine, but at least it gets their attention as to be curious as to what's going on here. Even Zorana, Zartana's sister, was created as eye candy. Heck, I go back to what I said during my topic on Bugs' 80th birthday, Lola Bunny. You think she was just brought in to be a regular Looney Tunes character in Space Jam, and then later on? Heck no. She was created as eye candy. She was created as not just the love interest and the sex symbol of of the movie Space Jam, but she was created as eye candy to really grab your attention. Like, holy smokes, that's what she was created as. Same with Minerva Mink and Hello Nurse in Animaniacs. The same with, believe it or not, Babs and Fifi and Shirley in Tiny Toons. Gadget Hack Wrench and Rescue Rangers, Rebecca Cunningham and Tailspin, Morgana and Darkwing Duck, Jasmine and Aladdin, Bondier and Bonkers, Peg and Goof Troop. You know, they all have the quirkiness and personalities that make them very popular among male and female fans. But mostly when it comes to the male fans, young and old, they were created as eye candy. That is why animated shows have attractive female characters created for them, for eye candy to grab your attention. Again, and again, you take a look at all the other examples I've mentioned. Cleo from the Cadillac Cats, Chitara from Thundercats, Steelheart from Silverhawks. They were all created in their way, not just to help sell toys or to get people to watch the product, but they were done they were created in a way to be utilized as eye candy to keep your eyes on the show, to keep your eyes on the product. That's why they were created. You take a look at My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Why do you think they created characters like, you know, Twilight Velvet? Why do you think they created characters like Rarity? Why do you think they created characters like Starlight? Why do you think they created characters like Celestia, Luna, Cadence, Sunset, Human and Pony? Why do you think they created them like that? Why do you think they created Applejack and Rainbow at times the way they sometimes they have to get dressed up? Why do you think they did that? Because they wanted eye candy on they wanted some kind of eye candy on the show. Rarity is probably the best example of that. Not just because of the way she's created and drawn and written, but also the fact that you have a young male character, whether you agree with the whole situation or not, you have a young male character in Spike fawning over her constantly. And eventually, maybe implied or not implied, or you know, you know, you know, indicated or not indicated, she might have gotten together with him, at the end of the show. We don't know. But the point is, she was created in such a way that she's become everybody's favorite. She's become a majority of the fan base's favorite character, and and not just because of her attractiveness, which plays a major part in it, but also because of her quirkiness, her personality, stuff like that. But mainly one of the other, but the main reason she became a favorite of a lot of people, besides all that, was because she was eye candy. Out of the main seven, main eight, main six, no matter how you look at it, she was created as eye candy, and that's how people viewed her. And then not Lola, but Luna came along. Celestia came, but then Luna came along in the second season and beyond, and became part of that, and went that route as well. You have that one unicorn in Summer Sun Setback, right? That's leading the organization of the fireworks and all that. And heck, you have Sketchy going like, "Oh, hello," you know. The point is, there's a lot of characters that are created and designed a certain way, and sometimes written a certain way, to be utilized as eye candy. That's about it, you know. And and his thing, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you wonder why people talk so highly about them in character or not in character, it's because basically that's what they're created for. They're created to get your attention. Attention. They're, they're created in a way to where you can't not forget about them. You can't. They'll be like one of the reasons you know about the show. And that's it. They'll be one of the reasons you'll know about the show. And that's about it. And I know some people might say, well, that's not always going to be the reason. And that's true. It's not. But the point is, You have to ask yourself, why would Hanna-Barbera create a character like Callie Briggs and Felina Farrell in the way that they did? Because they wanted eye candy on what was mostly a boys' action show. They wanted that eye candy to get your attention. Why do you think even back in the 1960s with Hey There, Yogi Bear, why do you think they redesigned Cindy Bear to look the way she does today? To make her into more of an appealing character for the male viewers to see when they would go see the movie and then the later shows afterwards. The point is, the point I want to get to before going to the next topic is basically this is why, but basically the reason a lot of these shows create these attractive female characters in them, whether they're primary characters, whether they're whether they're secondary characters or whatever, is because they're utilized as eye candy. Sonic the Hedgehog, depending on the different variations you look there, animation wise. Sally Acorn, Bunny Rabbit, Rouge the Bat, Amy Rose, believe it or not, Loop the Wolf from Sat AM in the comics. Um, Blaze, you know, you even Tangle and Whisper now. You take a look at them, even Tikal and Shade and what was Tikal, Shade, Sticks, believe it or not. Even one time characters out of Sonic Boom like Zoe, you know, or is it Bernadette? I think that was what was her name again? What was that Bandicoot's name in Sonic Boom? What is it? Oh, let me see. What's that character's name again in Sonic Boom? Mm, I know she had a voice. Well, Vector. Something else. Let me see. I know she had a voice. What's her name? Bernadette Bandicoot or Perdite Bandicoot or something? Let's see. You should have. Hold on for a sec, guys. Trying to figure out who that Bandicoot was. Percy. That's who it was. Percy. All right. I mean, even with Percy in Sonic Boom, you think she was just created to be like a secondary character or a background character to help them in the long run? Maybe, but she was also created the way she was as eye candy to get your attention on the show. The point is, the point I'm trying to get at is look, the female characters that are created, that are designed and written the way they are, they might be, they might be done to, it might be done so, or basically, what I'm trying to get at, hold on for a second. But like I said, the way the characters are created, you know, and written, may be to make them become the eye candy of the show, whether they're a primary character, secondary character, whatever. But even though they're created and written like that, sometimes they're also there to be more than that. To be more than just that eye candy. To be more involved with the story in some ways. To kind of have a major part to play. And we have to remember that they're not just there to be like, oh, it's our eye candy, that all that, you know. But they're there to play a role. They have a meaning from they have a reason for being there. Like I said, like I said, they have a reason for being there. Gadget, Gadget, Hack Wrench, and Rescue Rangers. Even though she's designed sometimes to look like eye candy, she has a reason for being there. Same Rarity and Twilight Velvet and MLP and that. Same with Callie Briggs and Felina Farrell and SWAT Cats. You know, they are created. They are not just created to be the eye candy, but they're created because they have a purpose, and we have to remember that. But yeah, what? But yeah, get. But again, why? But to get to the point to end this topic, why do we have animated shows that have attractive female characters created for them? Mostly because they're the eye candy of the show. It's to get your attention on the show and to watch the show, especially if you're the male mindset, if you know what I mean. But we have to remember, like I said, even though they're created that way and sometimes written that way, they have more of a purpose on that show, being there than just being the eye candy. We have to remember that. Okay, excuse me there. A little bit of a burp. All right. So our next topic is I'm gonna go to DeviantArt here for a second. Our next topic, because it has to deal with DeviantArt, or DeviantArt's gonna play a role here in a moment. But basically, our next topic is: could a webcomic like the Demonica series or the written adaptation of the character series work well as an adult animated series along with others like it? Now, what I'm talking about, as I get to it, what I'm talking about is, we have seen a lot of stuff, a lot of shows recently come out of the woodworks and literally become huge hits. We have seen that. We have seen them become huge hits with a lot of the viewers or the people that watch them. A good example is Kipo. I think that's Kipo on Netflix. Was originally a webcomic series, and suddenly it got adapted into an animated series, and now it's going on to, I think, its third season because it's a very popular show that people like to watch, which I think is kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool and everything. But besides that, besides that, could other webcomic stories, either the webcomics period or even the written adaptations of the book, could um, could they work basically as adult animated film, adult animated shows? Now you might ask yourself, well, what do you mean by adult? Well, the way some of these are described, and I'm going to put a link to some of them right now. The way they're described is very adult like. They're described as being very, at times, risque, if you will. Not totally, but kind of in that category. They're looked at being almost risque. Again, not saying that's totally true or not, but they're looked at as being as such. So, like I said, they're looked at being as such, if you will, because of what's described in them. But yeah, what's described in them. So, yeah, the question is, could they work? And again, I've just provided some links to them so you can check them out yourself. but the question is, could they work? And my honest opinion is, I think they could. I think depending on whoever, let's say Mr. Internet Man or Minor-Alterations, or anybody that has a story series, webcomic, or written adaptation or written version of something similar to what I've just linked you guys to, um, I think with the right studio behind them, I think it could work, especially from an adult perspective. I mean, you take a look at Midnight Gospel. Midnight Gospel on Netflix is based on a bunch of podcast interviews done by the guy that voices the main character. And it's just a bunch of clips and everything edited together, along with a few original pieces of dialogue here and there. But it's mainly just, in my opinion, a bunch of interviews edited together for an episode. And it's an adult animated series on Netflix. And it's very creative. Sometimes it's very WTF, if you will. But it's one of those shows that, you think, hey, if a show like this could succeed and work, maybe others can as well. And again, I go back to Kipo and I look at something that was originally a web comic, and I'm like, man, if this can succeed as an animated series that it's been turned into, maybe others, especially in the adult perspective, can. And I look at Mr. Internet Man's Demonica character and some of the web comics where she's changing into different things and different people and stuff like that. I think from an adult perspective, it could work. I think I think if you look at the story series that Minor-Alterations has done based on Demonica and her interaction with her character, Minor-Alterations character Ruby Walker, it's like you have pretty much a decent beginning right there. You have like a decent start right there to really maybe build upon something. And then, of course, you have symbiont story, which would have to be altered because of the symbiont word. But you have that, and again, you have the foundations of something to build upon, maybe in an adult animated way. And when I look at something like, let's say, the Demonica character, if you if you read if you look through the first web comic that Mr. Internet Man did, you find out that she's actually a college student named Veronica who mysteriously gets this package of nightshade lipstick, and when she applies it, becomes the mischievous demon elf Demonica. Like, she knows who she is and everything, but she also starts to allow the mischiefy side of the Demonica character to kind of combine with her, merge with her, so that the personalities are like on the same wavelength. Like, they know what the other is thinking. Basically, they become one in a sense. And when you apply that to a story to actually build upon it, you end up getting things that are interesting. Like with Minor-Alterations, one of the last chapters that they did, basically you have Veronica explain to Ruby that she's not that even though she is Demonica and she's all these other alternate personalities that Demonica can become and unleash, that she's just that in reality she's just who Ruby sees. She's just this college girl that's shy, nerdy, at times timid, and that all Demonica does when she applies the and that all Demonica does is allow her to, you know, really express herself in ways normally she couldn't. So, so yeah, these are interesting concepts in my opinion that could be applied to an animated series, an adult animated series, as a matter of fact. And I think a place like Netflix, Amazon, even here on YouTube, Hulu, HBO Max, I think would be perfect launching pads for something like this to happen on. Because let's because as I've said before, and as I've said before in other videos, and I'll say again, we are basically we are basically at the apex here, guys. We are basically, we are basically like in an apex, if you will. We are we are at a time right now where this kind of stuff, you know, can be utilized, can be created, you know, it can be done, it can be created, it can be done. And I think a lot of people, you know, I think a lot of people could benefit from it from a creative standpoint. I think they could benefit from seeing their creations come to life on the small screen. I could see them, benefiting from that in the long run. I could see them benefiting from that in the long run because it's like you're allowing your creation to now be seen, not just be read, but now be seen by millions, if not hundreds of other people. And I think that would be worth it in the end. And the stories they could come up with or adapt into animation would really work. I mean, I go back to my first topic when I talked about the animated music videos and everything. I talk about the animated music videos, and it said I talk about the animated music videos, as being like the way to go right now during the pandemic and even beyond it. And I, you know, and I can say the same for any kind of animated show that would any new animated show or property that would be created, especially for a streaming service like HBO Max. Um, let's see, HBO Max, CBS All Access, which I guess is going through a lot of changes. Um, Hulu, um, YouTube, maybe um, Netflix, Amazon. These are service Amazon Prime. That is, these are services that can really benefit, in my opinion, from a new animated series based on something. And again, I understand that some people may feel that they would never touch something like the Demonica series or the Model and the Symbiont series over at DeviantArt. Well, you see, that's where you could be wrong because anything is possible, especially if you want to have, especially if you're Netflix and you're HBO Max and you want to build your library and you're Amazon and you're Hulu and you want to build that library. You're willing to take on anything. You're willing to discuss any kind of arrangements or deals you can make to bring something to life. And like I said, when I look at the Demonica written adaptation by Minor-Alterations, or the Model and the Symbiont series by Minor-Alterations, or the Demonica webcomics by Mr. Internet Man, it definitely shows you that it's possible, that the creativity is there, the foundation has been made. And there are other ones as well. Like there's what's her name? Grapehyacinth. Let me see if I can link her as well, maybe. Maybe I can link her as well. But Grapehyacinth, she she did a web series. She did a comic book series. She even has a book series, believe it or not. She has a book series. She even has a book series currently on Amazon. See if she's oh, here we go. Yeah, but she has a book series on Amazon that's selling very, very well. And she basically got her start art, or at least part of her start art with DeviantArt that helped put her on the map. And the What Dreams May Become series, I'm going to tell you something. If you want a series that can really benefit from being an adaptation into an animated series, an adult animated series, if you will, this would be it. This would be the kind that it doesn't just have, the transformations and everything that would attract you to the series, but it has an actual story to it. What Dreams May Become has an actual story to it. It has comedy, it has drama, it has emotion in it. It has all that stuff that's perfect. It's like the total package to be adapted into an animated series, an adult animated series at that, in the long run. Same with now. If you want more of a comedic route, you have the Potion Place and Gina stories, and they, as you know, one-offs or two-part, multi-part stories can work. They could work too, and again, it wouldn't just be the um, the transformations that would attract you to the series. It would be the story itself and the characters. And that's the one thing she's done with the What Dreams May Become series and the Potion Place and Gina series. The fact that she focuses also on developing the characters and making them more than just about, oh, I want to do this, I want to become that and all that. No, she gives them emotion. She gives them a reasoning. She goes in depth with these characters. And I think honestly, these are the kind of series that I'm talking about that could be adapted into an adult animated series on a service like Netflix, on a service like Hulu, on a service like Amazon Prime, on a service like HBO Max, and people would watch. They would. But getting back on the topic, could a webcomic like the Demonic series or the written adaptation of that series, the character series, work well as an adult animated series along with others like it, like the ones I just mentioned? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think all you have to do is just give it the go ahead, let it happen and go from there. I think that's all. I think honestly, that's all they have to do. I think that's all they have to do is just give it the go ahead, let it happen. I guarantee you, people will people will people will be attracted to it. People will want to see it. They will, especially if you promote it, up as being, well, especially if you promote it with, oh, it's about this and all that, but it's more. But then you say, but there's more to that. But there's more to it than that. You know, what more can you say? So, in my opinion, could a web comic like the Demonica series or the written adaptation of the Demonica series and work as an adult animated series along with others like it? Absolutely. I truly do. I truly think it could work. I really do. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you think it could work? I think it could. I really do. But again, it's just my opinion, and I'm just and to me, it's just something I think, especially nowadays with what we're going through, financially, if people need money and they don't want to wait for any kind of possible second stimulus or whatever the unemployment's doing or whenever things will open up, you know, to me, I think working out a deal with a studio, animation studio that is, to maybe get this up and going, maybe at a place like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime or HBO Max, I think is the way to go, in my opinion. And I think it could work. And I think those that will watch later on, because I will link this to them, I think they would agree. Maybe, maybe not, but I think they would say, yeah, it does sound like, it could possibly work if they want to reach out to them, or vice versa. But anyway, that's going to do it for that fourth and final topic. And that's going to do it for today's topics on my mind for August 4th, 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining me in the live chat. Really appreciate it. Um, and basically, let me know what you all think down below that were not able to be here live. Comment down below if you like. Let me know what you guys all think of what I had to say. This will be uploaded into MP3 format later on. I can't say when, but it will be. So be on the lookout for an MP3 format at my podcast locations that I mentioned in the previous video before this. So anyway, though, guys, thank you all for watching live. Hope you all have a good Tuesday. I'm going to relax a little bit because I do have to go into work today at 11:30. But let me know what you all think about what I had to say. Any down below, comment if you like. Thank you again for all joining me in the live chat, and have a good Tuesday morning. And I am out. Peace and God bless.